Welcome to the UNSECURITY Podcast. Each week, Evan and Brad give an inside look at current information security news, breaches, best practices, and other things you should know to improve your information security. Here are your hosts, FRSecure's Evan Francine and Brad Nye.
Hey there. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the UNSECURITY Podcast. This is episode 107. The date is November 24th, 2020, and I'm your host, Evan Francine. Not joining me this morning is Mr. Brad Nye. Brad has a few issues going on. One of the things, it's called labyrinthitis. I've never heard of it before. But anyway, he's doing fine, healing up, but won't be joining for the podcast. So you get me all day. Well, not all day. It's only like an hour. But whatever. We'll fight through it together. So lots of drama going on with Brad. On top of that, this is fourth quarter. And so if you're in information security or been in information security for a while, certainly on the consulting side, this is always a crazy, crazy time of year. We're just busy. A lot of people put information security off until the last minute or realize they have budget left over. So I'm crazy busy. I know Brad is crazy busy. And so is really all of the FRSecure team and all of the security studio team, really running at 100%. So anyway, it's a terrible time to have a health issue to deal with, but again, he's going to be fine. Couple that with all the craziness going on with COVID and the elections, and then, just your normal fourth quarter. It's a nuts year. Thanksgiving is this week, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Last week on the Security Shit Show, if you missed it, it was, and it's really the only time I swear on the show. So on this show, my apologies if you're offended by that. But what we did last week was we did the Pocky one chip challenge. Allegedly, these chips, you get one chip in a box. It's $70, and after shipping, $15-$16 for one chip. The chip tastes like crap, and it's allegedly 1.6 million Scoville units. If you know what a Scoville unit is, it's essentially a measurement of heat, of spiciness. So both myself and Chris Roberts engaged in that challenge online, as well as a couple of our listeners or our fans on the show. Anyway, we lived, I think I'm going to brag a little bit. I think I lived a little better than Chris did, but either way, life moves on. It was sort of entertaining. Had a good time. And then we talked about compliance. That's, a double-edged sword with, the good things about compliance is it does, raise awareness about some of the things we're trying to do. The other side of that sword, is it leads to checkbox security and a whole bunch of, unintended consequences. It was a great discussion last week. If you missed it, go check it out on YouTube. And we also got a whole bunch of new warning stickers. These are sort of cool, and it's essentially a sticker that you put on a device, and it says this device, and it lists off a number of things. It's a warning sticker, like I said, and it says this device is addictive, will lose your information, will steal your data, listens to you all the time, is going to be used against you, is likely to burn your house down, is not your friend. It's kind of a funny sticker. Chris had a suggestion, which we didn't do, which was to go to like Best Buy and just put stickers on all the electronics. Good thought, but no, I'm not going to do it. So anyway, that was the Security Shit Show last week. That was last Thursday. Those are live every Thursday night at 10 p.m. Central Time. So it's sort of an entertaining thing. I think people belly up with her to just kind of listen in to the entertainment. We do enable the live chat, so you can chat, while we're talking and we're watching the chat, and sometimes we'll address some of the things that go on there. Sort of fun. Other things going on, information security hobbies. So if you've never I broke out the Raspberry Pi again. If you don't know what Raspberry Pi is, just Google it. But it's a fun, it's a great hobby, I guess. But you can learn, a bunch of different things. What I'm trying to build is really a home information security device. Uh, and I know there are some, on the market, but I'm trying to build one that's really, really cheap. So I've installed Raspberry Pi, installed Raspbian, which is the operating system for Raspberry Pi, and then set it up as an access point. Bought a second antenna for wireless and installed Kismet on that. For listeners who don't know Kismet, Kismet, if you look it up. It's a really neat utility. It's been around for a long time, used to monitor, wireless connections and stuff like that. And then probably be throwing pfSense on there. And what else do I get on there? Pi-hole, I suppose. So I've been working on that kind of as a side hobby thing. Here in Minnesota, winter comes early, and so I'm not a winter guy. So during the winter is usually when I break out, more hobbies and start playing around with things. I also broke out my Arduino. I'm going to build an LED light system for my 16-year-old daughter so that it'll go to the music, which is a pretty fun project too. I think we'll work on that together. So that stuff's been going on. Those were things that I probably would have talked about with Brad had he been here for the quick catch up. I've been in contact with Brad all last week. And like I said, he's going to be fine. It's just, this time of year with everything else, I feel bad for him. All right. So this week is Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to all the listeners. This is a weird sort of Thanksgiving, right? There's with lockdowns in many of our 50 states and worldwide. Thanksgiving, a lot of the traditions, getting together as family, have family gatherings, and that's going to be different for a lot of people this year. I know some people won't follow the rules, and I'm not going to get into that, but it's sad when, coupled with everything else that's going on this year, with just, seems like the world's been flipped upside down, and then, you're looking forward to Thanksgiving, and then we have kind of the second wave of COVID. And where I live here in Minnesota, our governor, Tim Walz, issued a 4-week pause, which essentially puts most of everything back in lockdown, and then the guidance to not have family get-togethers. So weird, for sure. I don't know. Just weird. But regardless, Thanksgiving is a time of year when you can look back, hopefully take some time to reflect on the year. We've all got things. I mean, if you've still got breath in your lungs, we've all got things to be thankful for. We've all got things to be grateful for. For some of us, it's been a really trying year with not only with COVID, but with the political season that was just, so divided. And then personally, I lost 2 family pets this year, 2 dogs that, I love or loved dearly. That's difficult. Being sort of isolated was difficult. But then, you look back at some of the other things. For our company, for FRSecure, it was another record-breaking year, believe it or not. Sales exceeded, anything we've had in the past. It was the first time that Security Studio was cash flow positive. Thank God, my family, I have 5 children. They're all healthy, and they're all out of the house except for the 16-year-old. So when you look back, there are many, many things to be thankful for, and I'll choose that route, and then look forward to, some of the hope that's on the horizon. That's another thing that if you look for it, I believe you can find it. You can find hope. If you're having trouble finding hope, reach out to a friend that maybe can instill some hope, in you. Hope is one of those things that keeps you going sometimes. And I know we've got vaccines that are pretty close to, being released that show, great promise. I know that the doctor who, I don't know if he's a doctor or not, but he's the person who leads Operation Warp Speed. And I don't want to get political because I know Operation Warp Speed is a Trump thing, but he announced, I think it was a couple days ago on CNN, that we should reach herd immunity when you couple the infection with the release of vaccines at their efficacy. We might reach, well, his prediction is that we would reach some level of herd immunity, 70%, by the end of May. So that's hopeful. If that's true, well, then we should be coming out of lockdowns. We should be getting back to some semblance of normal. And I know there's pessimists among us who will say, well, but this and but that. But, we'll hold on to that, especially, this time of year. So those are things that I'm grateful for this Thanksgiving. Lots of things, like I said, they're way different than they've ever been. And one of those things that'll be different, and now I'd like to sort of transition into, some holiday shopping, because holiday shopping is usually, the day after Thanksgiving marks the official start of the holiday shopping season. Even though when you look at the statistics, I'm going to find it here real quick. 38% of people actually start their holiday shopping before the end of October. 28% start, an additional 23% start before Thanksgiving. So 61% of us, according to the data from Statista, 61% of us start our holiday shopping before Thanksgiving. 22% start on or after Thanksgiving, 15% in December, and 2%, believe it or not, in January. Talk about what do they call it when what do you call it when you put things off for so long? I forgot the word. Whatever. 2% in January. Now, if I did my holiday shopping in January, I think I'd catch enough grief. I'm a December guy, so that's when I'll start my holiday shopping. But the point here is 61% of us have already started our holiday shopping. So when we give holiday shopping tips, hopefully the 61% of them haven't finished, or maybe they have finished, but hopefully they followed some of the good tips I'm going to give in the show today. Other things that are changing in terms of holiday shopping, even without COVID, the trend was very strong for shopping going from brick and mortar to online shopping. That's increased year after year for the last, since they started tracking it. Last year, the retail sales for holiday shopping was $730 billion. So I'll let that sink in a little bit. $730 billion. And I would have thought this next number would have been a little higher. Of that $730 billion, $135.35 billion, again, $135 billion came through online sales or e-commerce. So $135 billion of the $730 billion last year, 2019, was online sales. So that's considerable. We also saw a significant increase last year in mobile retail sales. Last year, that number was $71.3 billion. So again, just to recap, $71.3 billion on mobile retail sales, $135 billion in online or e-commerce, and $730 billion overall sales. That's what it looked like last year. So in what I'm sort of covering here is what changed this year? What's going to be different this year? The scams, most of the scams haven't changed. The scams we give attackers a lot of credit for being creative. Yeah. I mean, if they need to be, if there's a good return on investment with old attacks, i.e. phishing, they keep doing it. As long as we keep making it easy for them, meaning we don't go to multi-factor authentication or we don't take additional steps, create strong passwords, follow some of the basics. As long as we keep not doing that, they don't need to get creative. We don't need to make them get creative. They're getting a good return on their investment as is. So with Thanksgiving this year, lots of things have changed. And I'm going to go through some of that. Lots of things haven't. They're the same. The same tips, the same advice you got last applies this year. Things haven't changed much there. So things that have changed, we expect a significant increase in online sales. There's a number of factors for this. One is just the trend as it was. Had the trend just continued without COVID, without shutting down retail, brick and mortar, or at least making that riskier, we expect a projected sales increase. And again, this isn't my data. This is from Statista and other places that they cite. But we expected sales this year, online sales, this holiday season, to increase by 35.8%. Last year, just to put that into perspective, last year the increase was about 19%. So we're expecting a significant increase in online sales. And that just makes sense, right? That's probably not a huge news flash or surprise to anybody. That's one thing. The second thing about this year that's different than years past is the human, the person making the sales. They're different this year. We're all different. One, I guess, easier way to be successful in your attacks is to distract people. And I can't think of a time in my life where we've been more distracted during the holiday season than we are this holiday season. So we're paying less attention than we ever have. People are distracted by 1,000 different things that are going on. You've got the normal busyness of the holiday season. Couple that with anxiety of not being able to be with family and friends, worrying potentially about their health. So COVID-19 has wreaked havoc here with our attention, what we're watching, what we're not watching. We have the election controversies. I know that the election itself, we've already voted here in the United States, but there's still this ongoing, lingering, whatever. And again, I'm not going to get political and I'm not going to take sides, but it's distracting. That's the point. We've also got the social justice issues that are still running rampant throughout the country and even throughout the world. And this is another thing I'm not going to take sides on. The point I'm making is it's distracting. It's another thing to distract you from other things. You've only got so much attention, that you can pay to things. Couple that with online schooling, working from home, and the list goes on and on. So here's the math, the simple math. If there's more opportunity plus essentially your attention span of protection, I'm going to say opportunity plus distraction equals success for the attacker. So more opportunity, and if the distraction is the same, that should equal more success. It's the amount of opportunity and more distraction. Again, you'd expect more success. If both of those go up, if you've got more opportunity and more distraction, well, then you just compound the issue. So we would expect more success. So sadly, among the things that are changed this year, we would expect more scams. We would expect more success in the scams. And so it's up to us on what we're going to do with it, right? What we don't want, any joy that remains, and hopefully, and like I said, go look for it. It's there. the joy that you have in your life today, don't let the scammers steal any of it. That's the ultimate goal. I can't swear here. Otherwise I'd say some swear words because scammers really tick me off. Anybody who takes advantage of somebody else ticks me off. That activity, that's the big reason why I do security to begin with. So anyway, that's the point. Hopefully that's making sense. And the fact that we're a little bit late to the game. If we know that 61% of holiday shoppers have either already begun their holiday shopping and some probably have already completed their holiday shopping, we're a little late to the game in terms of the advice we're giving. Some of them may have already been scammed. I don't really know that. I don't know anybody personally who's been hit, but I hang out with a bunch of security people all the time. So they'd be a little more disappointed, I think, in that. So we would expect that this be the most scam-filled holiday season ever. So here's some tips for you. Number one, and I think the thing that's, if you were to boil everything down one thing, it'd be maintain situational awareness. So let me say that again, maintain situational awareness. And what that means is be in the situation you're in. Slow down a little bit before you start clicking and thinking of all the things that you need to go out and buy and all the things you need to install and everything else. Slow down. Think about where you're at right now. You're about ready to buy something. Okay. Take your time. Be aware of the situation. Be aware of clicking the links. Be aware of that took a little longer than I thought it would, or something popped up that I didn't expect to see. Maintain that situational awareness. If something seems out of place, it's probably out of place, right? We can really reduce the distraction factor just by maintaining situational awareness, right? And I'll take this to like the physical world. You see it all happen all the time. People have their heads down on their phone while they're walking down the street. That's not situational awareness. You're not aware of your surroundings. You're not aware of the situation you're in. And that's why you see people, you've seen the videos of people walking into traffic, people walking into, big fountains, things like that. So maintain your situational awareness. If I had one thing to give you, it would be that. And that same thing you can take everywhere with you. You always maintain situational awareness. It's something that you can learn. So if you think that this is, some people, they're just helpless in this area, it's not true. You can teach and you can learn situational awareness. All right. So that's number one. Number two, when you're buying things online, ship the things to a secure location. We expect, and you've seen it happen, that people are stealing packages off of doorsteps. They're stealing packages, all over the place. So ship to a secure location. Number one. And these aren't in any particular order. These are just things. And you can make a checklist. Actually, maybe I'll do that. I'll create a checklist of these things that when you buy something, follow this list. So if you follow up later, we'll probably publish that on my blog, evanfrancine.com. We'll probably publish it to FRSecure and Security Studio as well. I'll try to get that done today. So ship to a secure location. 2, use official retailer apps to shop. So there are so many apps on the App Store, especially, and Google Play. I think Google Play is or Google App Stores up to 2.5 million apps. I think Apple's App Store is probably about half of that. The ecosystems are different. It's a little easier to get apps into Google. But the point here is, if you're going to purchase something, use the app, use an official retailer app first. Trying to use, like, there's a Black Friday application on that I have on my phone, rather than buying something through that Black Friday application or another application like it, say for instance, Target, right? If I go to this Black Friday application and it shows me all the Black Friday ads and all the Black Friday sale, and so I can click on Target and see, oh, right, Target's got this ad and that ad, and I see something I'm interested, rather than going through the app, the Black Friday app, I would close that app and go to the Target app. So that's sort of what I'm saying. Use those official retailer apps. Don't save your credit card information on your accounts. So a lot of times when you're going through the shopping cart online, you have the option to save your credit card information, and it's a nice convenience. But fight that. Don't do it. When you store your credit card information online, you're hoping that the retailer has good security and is following proper security best practices. Amazon actually is pretty good with, if you save your credit card information there. But beyond Amazon, I wouldn't share my credit or save my credit card information on any accounts. It's convenient, but how hard is it to pull my wallet out, put my credit card information in again? Which leads to the next one. Consider using Apple Pay or Google Pay instead of credit cards, which is more secure because what's actually being transferred between you and the retailer isn't credit card information. It's, tokenized credit card information. So if the retailer gets breached and you paid with Apple Pay, your account is probably not also compromised. So using Apple Pay or Google Pay is a good thing. And I know that app version 14.2, which I think is the latest version of on my phone, will keep bugging you if you haven't set up Apple Pay, which is sort of a nuisance. But for online shopping, use Apple Pay or Google Pay. So far, ship to a secure location. Use only official retailer apps. Don't save your credit card information on your accounts. Use Apple Pay or Google Pay if you know how to use them and your retailer supports it. Most of them probably do. The next one is don't buy from unfamiliar retailers without confirming that the retailer is legitimate. Going to Amazon, some of the big box stores, Amazon, Walmart, Best Buy, Target, we know those retailers, right? We're familiar with them, but there's a ton of different places online. I mean, there are millions and millions of shopping carts in online retailers. Some of those are scammers. Some of those don't have good security best practices, implemented. So if you're not familiar with a retailer before going and purchasing anything, before typing anything like your credit card information or even your name, do some investigation about it. Use, your search engine, use Google to look up things about the retailer. Try to find out where they're physically located. Do they have contact information? Most legitimate retailers will have contact information, including a phone number, somebody that you can maybe even talk to. Those things would all make me more comfortable with a retailer I've never done business with. So do that. Don't buy from unfamiliar retailers without confirming it's legit. I don't want to say don't buy from unfamiliar retailers altogether because, you're kind of hurting small business and there are some good deals out there. But just confirm it's legit. If you don't know how to do that, reach out to somebody. You certainly ask me. I don't know if I'll be able to respond or not. But ask a friend maybe who's in information security or knows how to, look these things up. Which leads into the next one. Don't automatically just go after the lowest price, right? The lowest price, that seems awesome, but at what cost? There's always a cost. So you find something with the lowest price and you find out it's a scam site, or you find out that it is one of those retailers that doesn't have good security practices in place. So lowest price isn't always the best thing. And the key word here is jump. Don't jump. Slow down. Think about it. Plan out. If it feels uncomfortable, there's a reason for that. Listen to it. Think about it. The next piece of advice is never make purchases on public Wi-Fi. So I wouldn't go make purchases. Well, now you probably are on lockdown, so you may not have access to public Wi-Fi like you did before, but you see lots of people buying things, at least in previous years, sitting at a Starbucks or sitting at a coffee shop or in the airport on public Wi-Fi. That's dangerous. Public Wi-Fi is fairly easy in lots of cases to compromise. I mean, a simple ARP poisoning attack would replicate the traffic you're sending to the router to me as an attacker as well. Or you could always set up from an attacker's point of view, you can always set up an access point that looks legit. A lot of times we don't even realize what Wi-Fi we're actually attached to. Many of our computers have an automatic association with Wi-Fi that it's seen before. Turn that off. So that's always a good idea. But the key here is don't make purchases on public Wi-Fi. Now, if you have to make purchases on public Wi-Fi, meaning you forgot to buy stuff and you're at the airport or something, if you have to make purchases on public Wi-Fi, use a VPN. There's lots and lots of good VPNs out there. The one that I use, myself, if you want to check it out, I don't endorse it or not endorse it, but I use Proton VPN. But there's lots of good VPN, apps out there that you can install on your iPad, install on your laptop. So use a VPN. Now, if you're more on the security side, you maybe a little, a lot of us security people are sort of paranoid. If you're that kind of person, use VPN for all your purchasing, even at home, even when you're not on public Wi-Fi. It's just an additional layer of security. So far, and I'll recap this whole list again. I'll recap it real quick after we're through. Another tip, use strong passwords. Have you ever heard that before? But seriously, use strong passwords. Use a password manager. If you don't have a password manager, I can tell you the one that I use. I use LastPass. All pretty good. LastPass, Dashlane, there's a number of them out there. Use a password manager, for crying out loud. If you're not using a password manager, I don't know how you're doing it. And I'm guessing, I'm almost guaranteeing you're not doing it securely. But password managers make using strong passwords easier. Not easy, but easier. So use strong passwords and a password manager. If you've got the time, the thing you could do is check the policies, on your retailers. So a lot of them they're supposed to have private policies, published on their website. Now, I don't like reading policies necessarily. I like reading my policies, but I don't like reading other people's policies because they're long and wordy. But into that, check it out. If they don't have a privacy policy on their site, usually if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you'll see a privacy policy or a link to it, something like that. If it's not there, that should be a sign. So maybe even just checking that they have one would be a good idea. If they do have one and you like reading such things, feel free to do that. Important thing here is another important thing. Never will a retailer ask for your social security number. No retailer asks for social security numbers. So don't ever give out social security numbers. Retailers also don't take payments through they do take payments through gift cards, but I'm trying to think what I was going to go on that one. Anyway, don't give out your social security number anywhere. Another tip, buy with credit cards. It says buying with debit cards. Credit cards have additional protections in place. They have additional fraud reimbursement sort of protections in place, misuse protections in place. Plus, you get your money back It doesn't come right out of, like a debit account comes right out of your checking account or your savings account, which that's probably money you use to pay bills and live on and all that other good stuff. It's actually money. Whereas credit cards, it's not money. It will become money, but there's that time in between. Banks are really variable on how long it takes to get debit funds back. So the key here is buy with credit cards. You can also purchase things with prepaid debit cards. What that does is limits your loss. So if I have, $100 prepaid debit cards and, one of those debit card numbers gets scammed, I'm limited in that loss to whatever that card held. So if it held $100, that's my loss. The last one is after purchasing things, and get into the habit of doing this, check your accounts regularly. Detection is really important. No matter what you do, you will not be able to prevent all bad things. Sometimes you can follow all the good practices and do all the right things and still find yourself a victim of a scam. So the things you can't prevent, you need to be able to detect, right? And your best way to detect the bad things is by watching your accounts, reviewing your bank statement regularly. In our household, we do this daily. My wife it's a daily habit for her, which is awesome because I know almost immediately when there's something on that account that shouldn't be, right? And then we can attend to it right away. Limit the loss, right? And also, get our money back a little bit quicker. So those are my tips for safer Thanksgiving shopping. And I'll go through them just real quick one more time. Number one is kind of an overarching umbrella for everything else, is to maintain situational awareness. That means slow down. Number two, ship to a secure location. Number three, use only official retailer apps. Number four, don't save your credit card information on your accounts. Number five, use Apple Pay or Google Pay. It's just more secure. Number six, don't buy from unfamiliar retailers without confirmation. I can't remember the number I'm on now, but next one, don't jump at the lowest price. If you see the lowest price, that should be an indicator to do a little more research. Never make purchases on public Wi-Fi. Try shopping with a VPN. Use a VPN. If you don't have a VPN, find one. VPNs are always good to have, especially, when you're using public resources. The next is use strong passwords in a password manager. If you're so inclined, check the policies on your retailers, especially those ones maybe that are unfamiliar retailers. A good tip would be to check their policies. Do they have a privacy policy? Is it look legit, or does it look like something just canned? No retailers, again, will ask for your social security numbers, so don't ever give it out. Buy with credit cards versus buying with debit cards. And if you want to use limit loss, use a prepaid debit card. And then the last is, keep an eye on your accounts after purchasing anything. Actually, regularly, just check your accounts. So again, I'll put that into a list and make it available for people. It's just a good checklist. Maybe before you shop, if you have a friend, you want to print this out for them, put it next to your computer, and before you shop, just review the list. Okay, ship to a secure location. Use only retailer, official retailer apps. Okay, don't save my credit card. Just go through the list real quick before you shop, and maybe that'll help you. Especially some of the people that are newer to online shopping, they could probably use just a little bit more help in that area. All right. So I'm hoping that helped some people out. I have no Brad to bounce things off of, so I just continue to keep talking. Now we'll get into the news. And again, from me, and I think I speak for Brad too, and I speak for both of the companies that I represent, we really do want to wish you a safe, happy, healthy Thanksgiving. So it's very important. Right, on to the news. First one I thought that was kind of interesting was, Tesla. Tesla got hacked. So the Tesla Model X was hacked and stolen. So yeah, I'll just tell you the article title. This is from ZDNet, and the title of the article is Tesla Model X hacked and stolen in minutes using new key fob hack. So Tesla's already responded to it, and they are rolling out software updates to prevent the attacks. So if you are driving a Tesla Model X, you may already be patched for this. But I think what was important to note is everything is hackable. Everything. And it doesn't, especially if you have physical access to it, it's just a matter of time. Anything with code has errors, has mistakes. It was written by humans. So your Tesla Model X was hacked. This came from a Belgian security researcher who actually overwrote the firmware on the Model X key fobs, and that allowed him, or maybe it was a her, I don't even know, but allowed the researcher to steal any car that isn't running the latest software update. Now, I know some people try to disable, software updates, automatic software updates. If you did that on the Model X, which I don't even know how to do, but if it is possible and you did do that, turn that sucker back on again. And the attack is really not that. So I was talking earlier about Raspberry Pi. The attacker, the hardware for doing this hack is a Raspberry Pi, a CAN shield, a modified key fob, an ECU, that's the controller unit from a salvaged vehicle, which you can find on eBay for $100, and a battery. So, one of the cool things about Raspberry Pi is it's so small, you can make it do just about anything. That's one of the things that was used here. So anyway, Model X hacked. Poor Model X drivers. You'll be okay. Next thing is, which I thought was sort of interesting, was, and we knew this already, so it's not really a news flash, but it's neat to see somebody actually publish something a little more substantial here. ZDNet again. The title is Botnets been silently mass scanning the internet for unsecured ENV files. ENV files are environment files, and they're used by frameworks like Docker, Node.js, Symfony, Django, whatever, and they store environment variables. So that's a kind of a big deal if you leave an ENV file, the wrong ENV file, in the wrong place if you haven't secured it well. The thing here is attackers have, assembled their botnets and have been sort of silently, that's the key word, silently scanning the entire internet looking for unsecured ENV files. And when it's silent, it means that they're not aggressively scanning. So it's not huge, huge influx of traffic. It's, to tip people off. And it's, and it also means that they haven't used a lot of them yet, probably, because that would also be another tip off. So this is more of an information gathering exercise, I think, for attackers who are using these botnets. So I would expect results from the attackers at some point. Results meaning they actually used them. Another thing I thought was interesting this week, and I won't spend too much time on it, but last week, November 19th, yeah, that was last week, the Senate passed an IoT Cybersecurity Improvement Act. So that's sort of cool, maybe. I haven't actually read the act yet, but it's neat to see that our government is starting to be a little more active in helping us secure stuff. So here is IoT Cybersecurity Improvement Act. It really just is about IoT, so Internet of Things. It was approved by the House of Representatives in September, mid-September, passed the Senate. Now it needs a signature before it becomes law. So if you are part of IoT or, an IoT manufacturer, whatever, you're probably already aware. If you're not already aware, go become aware. It's interesting. It's one of I think the key players, or at least somebody who's influential in this area, is Brad Ree. Brad works at the IOXT Alliance, which Security Studio is a partner of. And he was quoted in the article. It's pretty cool to see. His quote was, "It is great to see American leadership in IoT security. As the largest economy in the world, we cannot be passive in securing our networks." So it's cool that he was involved because it's probably a better law for it. So good stuff. Last one, which, kind of took everybody, a lot of people were ticked off maybe in our industry, was it comes from Wired magazine, and the title is "Firing Christopher Krebs Crosses a Line, Even for Trump." So Christopher Krebs, no relation to Brian Krebs, but Christopher Krebs led CISA. It's a cybersecurity agency that's part of the Department of Homeland Security. And to Krebs's credit, I think he did a really good job. Anything you're doing in the federal government, it's a pain in the butt. So the fact that he was able to get done as much as he got done, I think, is a testament to his abilities and skills. And nobody's without fault. So, and anybody who claims to know the whole story doesn't. But he was fired. Now, don't feel bad for Chris, because he will definitely find another job. And I don't know what it means necessarily for our government either. We have a new administration coming in. Be interesting to see what happens. But I'm guessing Krebs can probably find a better paying job with more influence, with less headache in the private sector. So I don't feel so bad for him. And I don't know what to feel for the country yet. We'll just have to see, what happens. But anyway, that was big news last week. That's all the news I've got. I think now we'll transition into just kind of closing out the show. We'll wrap up with some shout outs. I'm going to give a shout out to Brad. I know he's, struggling and not probably as much today. That's tough, when you go through some health issues, especially with everything else, and he's still keeping things together. So shout out to him. Shout out also to FRSecure's leadership team. They're pretty damn amazing, led by John Harmon, the president of FRSecure, just so bought into the mission, serving what's in the best interest of customers over us, which is great. And then his two leaders, Renee Rudder and Vinay Pearson, just awesome. So shout outs to those guys too. All right. Thank you to our listeners. Send things to us by email. We sort of stink at reading email, but whatever. We'll get to it eventually. Our email address is unsecurity@protonmail.com. If you're the social type and you like to socialize, I'm a little more active than Brad is, but I'm at Evan Francine on Twitter. Brad's at Brad and I. The companies we represent, which are pretty cool companies because we're cool people. Security Studio is at Studio Security, and FRSecure is at FRSecure. Let us know what we can do for you. All that good stuff. That's it. Happy Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you all next week.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the UNSECURITY Podcast. We value our listeners and would love to hear from you. Give us your feedback by emailing us at unsecurity@protonmail.com. That's unsecurity@protonmail.com. Be sure to tune in next week to hear the latest insights from Brad and Evan.